share my screen, and we will get started. All right, let me know when you guys can see the screen.
Yes. I can see it.
Excellent. All right. Good morning, Sister Mary, Funi Fabu, Sister Sylvia. How you guys doing? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All right, so the Black Gold Nation presents Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change, an engaging, enlightening, and entertaining assessment of movies as it relates to the forward progress of Black people in America, Africa, and the diaspora. What is the Black Gold Nation Movement? The Black Gold Nation Movement is an international organization that seeks to liberate and save Black people by establishing our own towns/cities whereby we control the environment to make our people bigger, better, and stronger. It is our assessment, it is our perspective and our position, those of us in the Black Gold Nation Movement, that when we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, we lose. When we allow them to control the politics, the economics, the education, the spiritual systems, the security systems, whenever we allow other people, the agricultural systems, whenever we allow other people to control any aspect of our environment, amazingly, we find ourselves on the bottom of that environment and everybody else is on top of us. So because of that, it is our contention that we absolutely must have ownership and or control of our environment to ensure that the black mind, body, spirit, and psyche is always moving forward as rapidly, as safely, as positively as possible, with, of course, our children at the center. Why we came to be, based on the understandings, teachings, practices, and strategies of past and current organizations that the Black Gold Nation Movement leadership has lived, studied, and or taught, and the need to continue doing, we build upon the successes, minus the mistakes, to provide our people solutions that work now to implement 100-year plan, to build power. We understand that everyone that came before us was trying to do a very positive and righteous and necessary thing. But we also know that all of them failed for whatever reason in what they were trying to do. But all of them also had successes. We are here to take what they did, to take what they got right to the next level. I believe that we are the culmination of these movements because we have studied, we have lived, we do understand what they were trying to do, what they got right, and we are actively building upon those successes. But we also understand, because of that study, that we can afford to make those mistakes. And because all of them failed for whatever reason, that means that the work, the righteous work that they were trying to do has yet to be completed, which means it is on us to take the baton and run our leg of the race as best we can. And of course, we want to not only build upon those successes, minus those mistakes, run our leg of the race, but we want to ensure that we implement a 100-year plan, literally, to build power for our people so that we can give that to our children and they can add their 100-year plan onto that so that as a people, we are always 100 years out and we are no longer playing marbles as other people play chess, and we are in this thing to win this thing because we understand at the end of the day, it is absolutely 100% all about power. So with that, I'm going to turn this thing over to Brother Craig Lee, who's going to give us his assessment, his understanding of the movie Drop Squad. He gonna make us more blacker. All right, brother, it's on you.
All right, good morning, everybody. As always, I like to start out film discussion by getting everybody's few minutes to give me an overview of what they gathered from the film and their overall assessment. So let's start out. Whoever wants to go first with that.
Sisters always go first. So if any sister has a comment, Ray, like, no.
Right. Okay, this is Fabu, and y'all excuse me for not being visible because the lighting in my room is not up to par. So no I did come on. But what I can remember, I saw the movie years ago, and from what I can remember, anybody who was not true to the cause, and I'm going to use our phrase, nothing is more sacred than the liberation of Black people, they got taken to a place where, for lack of a better word, it was beat into them, you know? And I'm very radical because I like movies like Queen of the South and all them kind of things. And I feel like I'm like Harriet Tubman. I'd rather shoot you than send you back because, you know, so for me, maybe not in quite such a radicalized way. Maybe we can elevate to some other way to get those people who may betray the movement either to come on board or just get on out the way. So I am a proponent of the movie, so to speak.
Okay. All right. Good go. Next. Next.
Okay, come on, don't be scared. That's why we're here.
That's right.
All right, so I'll go next. My major quote points.
Your name is?
My name is Rhea.
There you go.
Sister Melanin Rhea. And you know, so the main things that I got were, first of all, the community policing, right? And so it's necessary. We need it. At the same time, we need to have it in a very organized way. That's not just haphazard. Becomes vigilantes that can turn on themselves, and paid informants and fools breaking the law. You know, all of the quotes from within the movie. That there's a systematic need to have the outside of the system and the working within the system. But that working within the system is a delicate balance of understanding that what is the goal? What are you really working for? You know, that can quickly become blaxploitation, corporate blaxploitation, cultural appropriation. You know, and so I think for me, the stop begging my people, that opening quote, that opening line, stop begging my people, that we're not fools breaking the law, we're creating the law. And that there's a big difference and so, you know, it's not a game. This is not just for play and just because, you know, people want to act up. This is serious, and it's not about beating people, but it is about beating out what's already been beaten in and beaten down. So for me, that was, you know, those are some of the takeaways. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. You know, there's been a lot of opportunities where we've created that in the past. A real force, a serious force, a military force, that's not a joke.
Okay. Next.
I'll go next. So I'm Mary. I think everybody can see that. So well, first of all, let me just say, I wanted to be an advertising executive in college. So this was kind of funny, but I mean, of course, sad at the same time. But I went against that precisely for the reasons that we see in the film. But yeah, I think just like everyone has said so far, it's really a look at, you know, what tactics we use, you know, to be liberated. How far do we go? Do we need to change tactics with the times? I wrote down a couple of questions, like who decides who's woke or who's a threat? You know, because we'll talk sometimes about, you know, different codes and stuff, and, you know, what does it mean to be really woke, or, you know, in the struggle or whatever? Can you be in a struggle and be married to a person who's not, you know, Black? Yeah. Can you be in a struggle and can you be gay? And so, I mean, even though they didn't really touch on that, but that's some of the things that I was thinking.
Sure.
So even within, you know, the group of people who would consider themselves to be activists and true to the cause, like even within that, I think, you know, we tend to question ourselves in terms of that. And as Rhea mentioned, like the limitations of working within a white institution, I grapple with that all the time. I just started working at a white predominantly white and white-led institution like about 2 years ago. And so that's kind of been a struggle to, you know, try to constantly think of how far is too far, you know, are they trying to compromise me and things like that. So, but yeah, so I think it, you know, caused us to grapple with a lot of things, but I'll let somebody else talk.
Okay, that's good. You brought us some good stuff.
All right, so Sister Sylvia, you're the last sister. Do you have anything you want to say before I speak my piece?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to watch the film. I plan to. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the premise is really good. It's very interesting. You know,
Okay.
and using the whole marketing as the backdrop. You know, I would really want to see how it pans out. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could say more about it. I would have to watch the film. But I definitely do plan on watching it. It sounds cool. It sounds like a very interesting concept, and it's crazy how it's, you know, it was not made that long ago. I mean, in the 90s, but still, of course, very much applicable now, even more so.
Okay.
All right. I thought it was a, you know, I'm a Spike Lee fan, so most of his movies I enjoy. I thought it was amazingly, sadly, it was quite timely. I'm not sure if it ever, you know, would not be a timely movie unless some drastic things change. But I agree with what everyone has said, especially Fundi Fabu. Well, she said Sister Fabu, but I call her Fundi because she and I were in the shrine together. You know, get on board and get out the way. That most certainly has been my mantra. But I want to allow you an opportunity to get on board before I tell you to get out the way. And a lot of us are going to have to be, a lot of our people, unfortunately, are going to have to be dealt with in some harsh ways, because although they have black skin, they are a detriment to the movement and the people and, of course, our children. And I most certainly agree with what Sister Rhea said about the opportunity. I tell people all the time that our solutions exist within our problems. Anything that we want to change, we have the ability to change if we simply decide to make that change. And change is not difficult. If you have the right motivation, you will change overnight. What people grapple with is deciding to change because they don't want to get outside of their comfort zone. And that's what we struggle with. And what Sister Mary said about the limitations of working in a white institution, you know, all of us can relate to that because we all have to wear different hats or different masks, if you will. But I love the idea of kidnapping some black folks and trying to get them to understand and realize, nigga, are you crazy? have you lost your mind? I think the idea is wonderful, and I do not know if you know, I'm of the mindset that we absolutely must, as adults right now in 2020, we need to do everything we can as rapidly as possible to remove our children from the influences of American society, because it is anti-black. It is, as we used to say in the shrine, niggerized. It is individualistic. Everything that we want our kids not to be, or everything we want our kids to become, American society stops them from doing so. So we need to have an island. We need to have another physical space. We need to do everything we can to remove our kids from the influences of this evil system. And that can be, possibly should be, a part of the quote unquote drop squad, taking black people out of, removing them from the negative influence of American society, not to browbeat them, embarrass them, hurt them, but to try and get them on the right track of understanding who and what they are so that we can build like we're supposed to and get back to running the world like we did a few days ago. So with that, I thought, again, I'm a Spike Lee fan. I thought it was a wonderful movie, timely, sadly, and I enjoyed it.
Cool. That's real good. And a lot of what you guys said, we're going to discuss over the next few minutes. But I want to come in and ask the first question, because this sets the tone for everything. The first two questions will set the tone for everything that this movie is really all about. And the first question is, what is Black? Or what does it mean to be Black? Because we need to get this term clearly understood. And I'm glad we got Sister Rhea on board this morning, because her screen name is Melanin Inc. And I love that screen name, Melanin Inc. And it probably is her brand name as well, because you just don't come up with a powerful screen name like that just out the blue. So I want to open this up, and we'll get in. This sets the tone for the movie. What does it mean to be Black, or what is Black?
I think Black is both a physical. There's a physical aspect of being Black as it relates to having melanin, but I also think Black is a state of mind. And I think it's important that we make that distinction, because we have a lot of, if you look at all of these, the riots and the protests, there were a lot of white people out there who especially young white people, who were raised in a completely different way. All of us tried to put our children in a better position than we were in. So my kids were raised in an environment completely different than how I was raised, because I was raised in the projects in South Carolina. My kids were raised initially in an all-Black society, and then we moved to a small town outside Houston, which is, I guess, middle class. And the kids don't have the same anti-Black beliefs. Their use of the word nigga as it relates to nigger is completely different. I was out playing basketball like a year or so ago, and I was trying to lose some weight. And the white people, the Hispanics, everything was nigga, 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 nigga. But they didn't mean it like nigga, nigga, nigga. They meant nigga, pass me the ball. And everything, they were calling me school. I'm like, what the hell is school? It means old school, because I was the oldest one out there. So I think that you have people that aren't Black that have that state of mind of understanding that things aren't right and Black lives do matter and all of that stuff. However, because they think that way and or feel that way does not mean that they are Black, which is why we can't be so open to including them in what we're doing, because they might have some affinity for, some admiration for, or maybe they might even feel themselves that, I'm a nigga too, like Justin Bieber says, when actually you're not. So I think being Black is a state of mind as well as as you say, Brother Craig, a phenotype. I'm finished.
Yeah. I definitely got to hear from Sister Rhea, Melanie.
Right. So it's all. It's the all in the all. It's everything. So when I Melanin Inc. First of all, from an artist standpoint, the color Black, which is not really a color, but it's a shade, right? It's in a spectrum. It encompasses all things. And so everything else is a derivative of Blackness.
Exactly.
So everything, and when you look at it from a science standpoint, and you look at, the stars in the sky and the cosmos, it's a Black foundation. Everything is coming out of the Blackness, Black matter, Black, so they say Black Lives Matter. Black matter is the source of all things. So for me, everybody comes from Black. Everybody is a part Black, even white people, even though they refuse to acknowledge that about themselves. And they have not learned about it, and they're not teaching them their children about it. they come from us. They're our children, essentially. So the Blackness is acknowledging that piece of the melanin, the melanated piece of us is where we come from, all of us, including white people. And then it's also that mindset of accepting and acknowledging and embracing and celebrating it. You know, that's what Blackness is, celebrating that spiritual, that mental, that physical connection. It's a connectedness, connectivity. It's what holds us all together. And without it, there wouldn't be any other strings or any other pieces to exist. You know, that's how I see it. That's what I understand it to be.
So just I want to just ask you. So what is melanin then?
So melanin is that source. The life is actually carried within melanin. So the seeds of life, you know, sperm and when they come together, the sperm and the egg is transformed in a magical chemical that's called melanin. And so that's what activates life. It holds it, and many other things as well. And it's part of us. It's a special chemistry that exists that is transformative.
So is melanin black or is melanin dark?
Well, black is all things. So, you know, I think melanin is, as a term, like as a scientific term, is specifically about chemistry, a chemical, which activates, you know, the Blackness in you, because even again, white people do have melanin, and it's different levels of it.
Exactly.
People have different levels of melanin, but it's sort of like chlorophyll, right? It activates energy. It activates life. And so there's I think there's connections, but there are distinctions between black and melanin.
Exactly. And that's why I'm asking this. This is a very important question, not only in relationship to this movie, but in relationship to clearing up some things that have never really been defined around this term, especially in the 21st century, because you know, people are associating the term black with skin pigmentation and color, when melanin is that particular thing, but black is really state of mind. And there are two groups of people who are highly melanated. And I'm glad that you brought up the point that even pale skinned European descendants have a finite, very small, very minute degree of melanin within them, because they're grafted recessive byproducts of us. Unfortunately, we had some unconscious Negroes who wanted to do some experimentation, you know, millions of years ago, or how long ever the planet has been around. But we got to be very clear about the factions of African descendants in this game. And there are 6 factions that we'll get into. But I wanted to see if anybody else had any other comment on what it means to be black, or what is black.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, especially with Sister Rhea. But I think about, like you, Brother Lee, say that black is a mindset.
Yeah.
They're all labels. So I took it, I mean, in my mind, I go all the way back to, you know, when we were called colored, when we were called Negro. All of those are labels that derive from African.
Yeah.
So when I hear the word, it's like, what does it mean to be African? So that is the same thing it means to be Jewish, to be white. Yeah. That means that you have to have your connection to the group of which you are a part.
Exactly.
You have the connection of the belief system, the value systems. And for traditional African people, my big one is collective work and responsibility. Again, you have the mindset that nothing is more sacred than the liberation of Black people. Nothing. Not my family, not my, I mean, even Jesus said, my family are those who are in here with me doing the work that I do. So it's like, I don't care what it is. I mean, Jews, what does it mean to be Jew? Look at their creeds. Look at their values. So if I support that, and y'all, I get loud when I get excited.
Oh,
you know,
get loud.
Ain't she wonderful? Ain't she wonderful? Come on,
I'm knocking out proud, right?
I mean, it gets right down to, I mean, I don't care what label you put on it. Ain't no such thing as Black land. It's Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, Chinese have China, the Mexicans have Mexico. So what does it mean to be African?
Yeah.
It means that my mindset is there is nothing more sacred than the liberation of Black people by any means necessary. But the biggest part of that is the unity so that we can have collective work and responsibility. And if anybody can't get to that, then they need to be out. Now, I'm like Brother Tamani. I'm willing to give you a chance. I'll wait for the receipt, you know, but fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You gotta go. But I do stand in line with who's the judge of who should stay and who should.
I'm glad. We definitely gonna talk about that.
Okay, but I write notes so I don't ramble, because as you can tell, boy, you get me started and I shoot off like a rocket.
Anybody else? Sister Mary?
No, I just want to say I agree. I wasn't probably going to be as articulate as Sister Fabu, but but yeah, I totally agree with everything. So yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Is that it? So have you all watched this movie? We reviewed it as a part of our curriculum, Divergent. Have you all seen the movie Divergent? That's a very important movie. Who's seen it?
I have. It's based on a book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have. Yes.
All right. In the movie Divergent, there are factions. The community is broken up into 5 factions. You have one faction called Erudite, another faction called Abnegation. You have like 5 of them, right? And the one faction that incorporates all of them is the most dangerous of them, and they are being hunted. And those few people, that small percentage, they're called Divergent. And Divergent is basically a hybrid. And everybody on this call is what I refer to as one of 6 factions of African descendants in America. And I'm so glad that Sister Fabu brought up the connection with Black to Africa, because that's what we're talking about. Black is not a color, it's not phenotype. There's a part of that gets you, I guess, in the gate of consideration for Black. But again, your phenotype, as Sister Rhea Melanin Inc. talked about, your phenotype is actually melanated. Your melanin is really depictive of your phenotype, your skin complexion, right? And it is dark. It can be constituted from, if you're looking at it artistically, i.e. Black. And again, as Sister Red said, all other colors derive from this universal color is the essence. They come from Black. I don't care if it's, and white, of course, is the, least of them. And white is actually dark. We'll get into that. Black is actually light. But the powers that be have flipped the term, white meaning light, and black meaning dark, when that's really not the case, because out of blackness you get light. And that's a whole nother ball game. But he who controls the power controls the perception of life, and in the perception of life, words and symbols. So this particular movie gets into it, but there are 6 factions that fall under the category of African descendants in America, and the Creator blessed me over these past 35 years of enlightenment to break this down. And Brother Tamani had just called, and he'll probably post this in this, and hopefully you will, Brother Tamani, because I agree with, you know, when you texted yesterday to say, are these the terms? And I say, yes, so definitely text this or put it in this particular chat. But there are only 2 groups of African descendants in America who are black. Only 2 groups. And one of the factions, and these are factions, I label as grassroots, melanated grassroots black people. Melanated grassroots black people. These are just solid, hardworking folks who go to work every day, but they're not Uncle Toms, they're not stepping infection, they're not, you know, leaders, they're not political leaders, they're not business leaders. They're just solid people that ain't gonna sell out. And to Sister Fabu's point, they have what I call a cultural transmission in them from their ancestral past that focuses their mind on uplifting black folks. Even if they don't have a direct philosophy, they may have never even written an essay, you know, but they have a commitment to African people in the United States and abroad. They may have never even read a book, okay, about any of this, but they are about the upliftment, the liberation, empowerment, and upliftment of our people, okay? These are our regular folks. But then there's another group who are supposed to become the change agents, or who are the change agents, that I like that, Sister Fabu, innate spirituality. You're absolutely correct, because that's where it comes from. But then there's the second group of black people in America under the African descendant umbrella, who I call melanated grassroots hybrid black. And those are the people that's on this call. Those are the people that we are mobilizing and organizing within the Black Gold Nation, all right? Melanated grassroots hybrid, meaning these are people who are gonna be the leaders, whether it be political, whether it be economic, whether it be like Sister Rhea in the art industry. Sister Mary talked about wanting to have been in the advertising game of corporate America. These are people who can interface and connect within corporate America in the public sector without selling out. Okay, without selling out, without compromising themselves to become a promotional tool used by the system. And this gets to the movie as it relates to the various entities that the Drop Squad targeted for deprogramming, okay? So those are the 2 groups of black people. The other 4 groups of melanated people are not black, they're Negroes. And a Negro is a mental creation of the power structure, the architects, the engineers that created the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism. These are mental creations of these entities. And within the system controlling their minds, they also control their spirits and they control their body. Dr. Carnegie Woodson once said that if you can control a man's thinking, i.e. a person's thinking, you don't have to worry about his action. When you determine what a person shall think, you don't have to concern yourself about what he will do. So there are creations by the architects and engineers of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy who look like us, but they're not us. They look like us, but they're not us. That's what the movie is all about. Drop Squad. They look like us, but they're not us. And there were direct targets that they focused on. And within the direct targets, they focused on the politician, they focused on the preacher, they focused on the corporate Negro, and they focused on the gangster Negro. And we're going to talk about how they threw in the focus on Sister Shahrazad Ali. That was an interesting little twist as I went back and viewed the film this week, because this is a movie that was made in 1994, so we're talking 26 years ago that this was made. And I think it was Sister Mary that said, talked about, does Black incorporate homosexuality? And we already know that's not the case. And we'll get into why I can easily say that, because that's what this whole pseudo Black Lives Matter non-movement is all about, because it is anti-family. And if you're anti-family, you're anti-Black. It's anti-man. So if you're anti-man, you're anti-Black. So and because you can't produce children. And Sister Fabu talked about a few of the principles from Kwanzaa: collective work and responsibility, unity, umoja, self-determination, kujichagulia, and ujima, ujamaa, and whatnot. Well, within Kwanzaa, the first fruit are the children. So we can knock this out real quickly. 2 females cannot procreate, and 2 males cannot procreate. So anybody promoting homosexuality, trisexuality, whatever, anti-heterosexuality, there's no way that you could be promoting Blackness, because in order to have a planet, you got to have people. And you can't have people when you're talking about homosexuality. This is real simple. It's not any attack on the LGBTQRSTUVXYZ pseudo movement, but that's an anti-life movement. It is not anything about Blackness. So we're going to be very clear, because if the Drop Squad were made today, they would have to now include individuals from the LGBT and getting their mindsets right, okay? So I wanted to make sure we cleared it up. So here are the 4 categories, factions of Negro. You have melanated bourgeoisie Negro, and I think Brother Tumani just sent that to you guys. Melanated bourgeoisie Negroes. These are the cultural mediators between the power structure, white community, and the Black community. These are the cultural mediators. They make sure to check the temperature to see what's going on. But these are people who actually have skills. Dr. Carter, not Carter Jewison, but Dr. W.B. Du Bois referred to these individuals as the talented 10, okay? But also the talented 10 was a philosophy that created the entity known as the boule. The boule is a French word that means messenger to the king. So the boule is supposedly the Black correlation of Skull and Bone, which is the secret society that controls a lot of the power in the white community. The Negroes wanted to basically have the same parallel in the Black community, and so that is called the boule. And within the philosophy, that's how you get the Divine Nine, all of the Greek letter fraternities and sororities that exist on Black college campuses and throughout the world. W.B. Du Bois' premise was that these individuals, about 10% of our people, would be able to go to college, become the doctors, lawyers, business people, scientists, and whatnot. And on paper, the premise was that this 10% would come back into the 90% grassroots community and now help uplift and whatnot throughout the country. And this put him at odds, of course, with none other than Booker T. Washington, because Booker T. Washington was having discussions about the grassroots, what we could physically do now. And unfortunately, both of them were correct. And it's just sad that they didn't understand that we don't live in a one-dimensional reality, right? We live in a multidimensional reality, and therefore we need to have brick masons, barbers, beauticians, all of those blue-collar skilled trades, because that's what we acquired coming out of slavery. But we still also need to have doctors and lawyers and chemists and biologists. We needed both components, right? Well, just because you're rolling as a talented 10 doesn't mean that you have the spiritual and cultural connection to the grassroots. And unfortunately, the vast majority of them do not. They are indoctrinated within the mindset of the dominant society, which makes them a melanated bourgeoisie Negro, all right? And those individuals have become, most of them, enemies to the Black community, although they do, in many instances, good things to some degree. They're used to make sure that the change of the system of capitalistic white supremacy never happens. Okay, so you'll see them as basically being the exceptional Negro, and they use various examples of this: Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and they're used to lock people into believing that you can do all of these things within the philosophy, system, and game of capitalist white supremacy, and it just simply is not true. If you look at this as an individual, yes, but as a collective, no, because as a collective, now we're dealing with percentages, and you can't sell me on a half of a percent of people being able to generate money, status, and materialism as an example as to what can happen for the majority of our people who we know are living in a very oppressed existence in the system of capitalistic white supremacy. Are you all with me? Do you all understand?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, this is very important that you understand this, because the Drop Squad is a good movie, but there are various things that it leaves out, and we're going to cover these things. All right, the next entity who is melanated, but is worse than the bourgeoisie Negro, is the melanated pseudo-bourgeoisie Negro. Pseudo, because he wants to be in the bourgeoisie clique, but he ain't, or she ain't. And they now, you've seen the Diamond and Silk, the two females who Trump used to do all this jigabooism. They are examples of pseudo bourgeoisie Negro. See, because they don't fit in the bourgeoisie category, and they're not grassroots Negro, and they know they ain't Black. Okay, so they're willing to take a check, Kanye West, okay? They're willing to take a check in order to sell us out completely. The thing about bourgeoisie Negroes, they're not necessarily a complete sellout, because some of them do have pride. Some of them are prideful omegas and prideful deltas and whatnot. But simultaneously, they work to preserve the system. The pseudos, they are way more deadly, way more dangerous than the bourgeoisie, because they want to fit. And since they can't fit, they go offer themselves up as prostitutes in the system. A very good example of that is Clarence Thomas. So if we don't know that Clarence Thomas is not Black, and Clarence Thomas is highly, highly melanated. That Negro is very melanated, right? But if you say Clarence Thomas is Black, you really need, David Duke is Blacker than Clarence Thomas. David Duke is Blacker than Clarence Thomas, all right? So we gotta be very clear that melanin does not mean Black. Melanin is dark. It could be constituted from an artistic standpoint. If we're talking about color, melanin could be considered Black, but no. And in order to activate, and Melanin Inc. Rhea was in the game, I think we just had it a little bit different. In order to activate melanin, no. It's not the blackness that activates melanin. It's your spiritual and cultural connection to the creator and the ancestors, which indirectly you could say, well, blackness does activate melanin because blackness is a byproduct of spirituality and culture as well. Okay, so, but it's spirituality, the power that dwells within you from the creator and the right culture that connects you back to the ancestral legacy from Africa. Those two things is what activates, unlocks, unleashes, and activates your melanin power. And most of these cats are just walking around with atomic energy inside of them, and they don't even goddamn know it because they're some goddamn slaves. They just Negroes. They ain't black, okay? Then we got the third category of Negroes. These are grassroots, melanated grassroots Negroes. And from that overall standpoint, they are similar to melanated grassroots black people, but these are people that's just straight up, they work, they go to, they embrace all of, like you got people who are in Jehovah's Witness, right? They go to work, they mean well, but they retarded. They just retarded. But they melanated, they don't vote, they don't get involved in nothing to help uplift the black community, and they're being led by white doctrine, okay? They're being led by white doctrine. They'll walk on the street, knock on people's goddamn houses. I get tired of them coming to my goddamn door and knocking on my door with the goddamn watchtower. I say, get the damn watchtower out of my face. But we got, those are melanated, grassroots Negro. And if you tell them that so-called Yeshua Jesus was black, they might stab you in your throat. They literally might stab you in your throat, because at the end of the day, they really are rolling with a concept to preserve and support the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy. And lastly, we have what we call the melanated savage Negro. These are the people going around terrorizing the black community and the African, the Negro, the overall Negro community. These are your killers. These are your dope dealers. These are the people who people just say, well, we just need to pray for them. Well, no. My cousin's son, and I'll send this news story to you, just about 3 weeks ago, 22 years old, murdered a 19-year-old brother outside of the goddamn Dillard's department store at the mall, shot him in the face, and walked back up to him and pumped 5 into his chest. This is what we dealing with, okay? Ain't gonna be no praying for their ass, ain't gonna be no laughter for their ass, no. You got to go, period. When you got people raping 86-year-old melanated females and stealing their money, no. You got to go, period. A lot of these folks are going to have to be put to sleep. Ain't going to be no drop squad for their ass. The drop squad will be dropping them, not to reprogram them, but to drop them. Now, maybe 1 to 5% of them can be saved, but the majority of them are going to have to go, all right? So it's important to understand those 6 factions of African descendants in America. All of them are African descendants, but not all of them are black.
I got a question, Brother Craig.
Yes, sir.
From what you just described, the four of the 6, the 4 in the Negro category, it sounds like, from your perspective, only the melanated bourgeoisie Negroes, that's the only category out of the bottom 4 that we possibly might be able to work with, because they still have something to offer as it relates to, or is it like I guess this is the latter, like the conversation we've had when we talked about Bumpy Johnson, Malcolm X, and Adam Clayton Powell, understanding that everybody has a role to play, and we just use them as pawns, knights, rooks, or whatever to do whatever we need them to do. So everybody has a role, but melanated bourgeois are I guess they're the best out of the bottom 4 that we can work with?
That is a great question, and we can convert, and this is, and I analyze this, I say, of the melanated bourgeoisie Negro, we could convert probably 1, and I'm being very judicious when I say 10%, but we can convert 1 to 10% of them, and I'm going to explain why. The pseudo bourgeoisie Negro, I could just write all their asses off, but maybe 1 to 5% of them. The biggest conversion would happen with the grassroots
Negro.
Yeah. Because all of this is based on what we physically show them. And we start to create jobs, employment opportunities. We start to take over the political apparatus of the various cities. About probably 30% of them can be saved. And then of the savage Negro, we could probably save 1 to 5% of them, you know, because at the end of the day, again, once they see the structure and the power, and they know that there's a squad that's not going to pray for them, that's not going to seek to deprogram them, but seek to banish their ass from the planet.
Yep, drop squad.
Some of them will fall in line.
Yeah.
So all of them, there's some possibility within that. All right.
Solid.
All right. Is everybody clear on that? We good?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Now, Spike Lee, ironically, did not direct this film. This film came under the 40 Acres and a Mule category, but he was the producer of this film. So there's a cat, last name Johnson. Y'all gonna want to check him out. He's been in quite a few movies and whatnot, but he actually was the director. Sister Fabu said, "Cause I was once a melanated student." Okay, sister, there you go. Sister Fabu said she was once a pseudo bourgeoisie Negro. Then that's why I say we can save about 1 to 5% of them. You know, really, they don't fit into that bourgeoisie category, but they're trying to fit. Spirituality, if they're willing to embrace spirituality and right culture and do some goddamn work, you know, that's the transformation right there. You know, because it ain't gonna be no tithes and offering, goddamn. Ain't gonna be no damn tithes and offering saving it. But anyway, Spike Lee produced the film, and again, it's one of my good films that I like to bring about. All right, so now that brings. Let me say this again. They focus on 5, but the 4 primary categories that they seek to bring your attention to in the film: the politician, so political, they hit on the preacher, they hit on the corporate Negro, they hit on the gangster, and then they threw in Shahrazad Ali, and they had her painted as a mammy, like as a bedwench. And it's interesting how they did that, and I want to get some conversation on that. I thought that was very interesting. So here's the next question. What is capitalism? Because there are 2 things this movie centers around. The what is black, and then capitalism. So what is capitalism? Don't everybody rush to answer all at once.
I'm going to say it is the political, economic, and social system to create profit.
Okay. Anybody else?
Okay, I may be way off. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. And when I hear the word capitalism, I think that it's the foundation on which any entity is built, because you have human capital that people capitalize on. You know what I mean? You have other systems that make up our whole, I may be saying this wrong, our ecosystem kind of thing. You know, you have support systems that people capitalize on. And to me, capitalize just means to take advantage of, in other words, you know what I mean? So there are more systems than just financial when you think of capitalistic society.
Exactly. That's good.
If that made any sense. I mean, I'm just.
I'm with you. I like that.
Good.
Okay.
Anybody else? So Shatik said, using supply and demand for your benefit. That's good, but and for profit. Sister Fabu hits on something very important. It is an ecosystem. I like that. It's an ecosystem that involves economics, socioeconomics, politics, and culture and subculture for the benefit of uplifting, preserving, and advancing white supremacy racism. That's what capitalism is. Now, I asked that question because we hear the term thrown out a lot, but nobody ever sits down and researches the term. So I would suggest that you all go and research what capitalism is. Now, inside of capitalism, they use our African system. Now, what is that African system? Can anybody tell what the system that they use of ours inside of their system?
It's a democratic marketplace.
So give me the one word for democratic marketplace, because I love that. I like that. What is that one word called?
Business.
It's two words. It's
not business.
It connects to business, but she's in the ball for a democratic marketplace. So what are the two words?
For profit. Enterprise.
Yes, free enterprise. Yes. Yes.
Did you know that's what you were saying, girl? Did you know that's what you were saying? Democratic what?
Democratic marketplace.
And democratic marketplace is another term for what?
Free enterprise.
Free enterprise. And free enterprise is a system that who created?
African people.
Yes.
Exactly. We the original goddamn marketers of the damn planet. What the hell wrong with y'all? Everybody should have raised their hand and said, God damn it, us. So they use the system that we created, free enterprise, within their diabolical and evil system, which takes advantages of what Sister Jatik said and what Sister Fabu said, that takes advantage of the ecosystem, supply and demand. It takes advantage of people, right? In order to advance a goal of white supremacy and racism. So look at this. So you can't just throw away capitalism. Why? Because inside of capitalism, it has what? Our system. Now, why is this important? In the movie Drop Squad, what were they selling, brother, to money to make money?
Shoot, I don't know.
Not a goddamn thing.
All right, there you go.
All they were focused on was deprogramming people.
Right.
Well, if your ass ain't got nothing for them, why are you trying to deprogram?
Right. And what you gonna do with them once you do that? And how you making your money? How you sustain this thing? Yeah, I get it. You know how they were sustaining it?
you know, food stamps, you know, whatever. Look, man, you cannot focus on trying to deprogram anybody if you ain't got nothing to offer them.
That's right.
And this has been the biggest mistake that grassroots people continue to make. I don't give a damn who they are. You cannot ask somebody to stop working a damn job in corporate America. Sister Mary, if I ask you to stop working a job in corporate America, and I say, well, see, Sister Mary, let me tell you something. See, sister, you can't get caught up in the man, see, because the man is going to do this, and the man is going to do that. And Sister Mary say, okay, well, who going to pay my goddamn light bill? Well, see, God will provide.
Oh, boy.
Allah will provide. See, sister, just, you know, just ain't got no damn solution. But you want her to not work. Okay? See, you got to have a system that you can bring them to that has been vetted, that has been tried and true. So now within the system of capitalism, it's our system of free enterprise. But guess what? The Negro activist has come to believe that generating income is a sin or something bad or something white. That's a goddamn lie. That is a goddamn lie. Because we are the original sales agents. We the original. Like, have any of y'all ever gone to Jamaica? Man, if you ever get a chance to go to Jamaica, I wish I could bring about 10 of them sisters back to the United States. Because in sales, we're taught that the sale doesn't begin until you hear the first note. Okay? Now, typically in America, most people who say they can sell, they hear no and they gone. They through. Look here, man. I had bought about $100 worth of stuff. And this sister said, brother, buy this from me. Buy this from me. I said, no, sister, I can't do it. Brother, buy it from me. Man, I said no about 30 goddamn times. It's wore me down. Sister shit here, god damn, you know. Yeah, take this goddamn $10. Now, I say that because that's in the nature, okay? That's in the nature. Because for them, there ain't no Walmart job, ain't no damn McDonald's job, okay? The job is to sell, to be an entrepreneur. And that's our original deal. But if you don't sell something, a good or a service, how are you now going to ask somebody to stop, disconnect from the matrix that they're in, which pays their light bill, water bill, rent, provides food, and you don't have nothing for them? You see, I get it. You know, you want people to become more ethical and more spiritual and more cultural in how they do their job. But hey, you got to show them first. And that's why the brother, when they kidnap the brother from corporate America, the brother's like, man, y'all don't know shit. You don't even understand. And their whole thing was, see, man, you helping the man to exploit. And yeah, he was doing that. But again, what do you have to show them a different way? I focus on the corporate guy because the corporate guy had to put in the actual work, okay? But they also focused on the politician and the preacher, and those two entities, especially the preacher, they get their money from the Black community. So there's never a reason that they should sell out other than the fact that they are Negroes and not Black people, because their mindset is focused on that particular dynamic. So I want you all to definitely study capitalism and the concept of Black, because those two things are directly at the core of what this film was all about. Navigating inside of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism in a spiritual and cultural manner but the people who wanted to deprogram them had not even created a system within and of itself that would give them the physical reality. So Sister Prabhu had mentioned in her intro, she thought that the Drop Squad was doing this physically. Now, this brings up the point of the intergenerational conflict, new school versus the old school. The old school, they let you know, yeah, they kidnap people, or sometimes they really didn't. They actually would go to people's houses and try to present information to them. And that's where you have the conversation going on with the guy who is mentoring them. And needless to say, he talked to another guy who used to be in the organization, who still supports them behind the scenes. But they were saying, hey, man, we used to just go to people's houses and present information to them. We weren't about kidnapping anybody and trying to beat them down. But the guy who was still mentoring the new Drop Squad, he was like, man, maybe this is a new way. The new generation has to do it in a different way. So when y'all look back at the film, pay particular attention to the intergenerational conflict that's going on, because they weren't keeping up with the time, right? Sister Mary's question I addressed in terms of the whole homosexual deal. That's a very important thing, because, again, if the LGBTQRSTUVXWYX were a part, if this movie was made today, they would definitely be one of the Drop Squad targets within that. So we've already addressed that. And again, they had no solution, empowerment solution for our people other than just to deprogram them from being a Negro. They did. And that brings us to the point where the BGN, everything that this movie is about, the fact that they didn't have those empowerment solutions, that's where the BGN comes in. The Black Gold Nation's focus is on providing empowerment solutions to our people at the local level, taking over local government, bringing economic development to the table, and having a complete structure that's focused on the empowerment of our people. That's what the Drop Squad didn't have, and that's where the BGN comes in. And that's why Brother Tamani has asked you guys, all of you, to be a part of this particular process. And of course, they let Bruford Jameson go almost towards the end, and his sister was the one who wanted him deprogrammed. But again, all of that's nice and dandy, but you got to deal with the reality of capitalistic white supremacy. And if you do not have a game plan of dealing with that, what are we really talking about? I mean, that's cool to go at all of the realities of white supremacy and whatnot, but if we are not cultivating a free enterprise game plan to do what we need to do, programs, projects, businesses, what are we really talking about? Because you got to survive. That's the game that's been created. You got to survive. And I'll leave you guys with this story and open it up for questions. It was after Hurricane Katrina, and me and my ex-wife, we were casualties of that in terms of losing a lot of our house and different belongings and whatnot. And came back to Shreveport. She was from New Orleans. I'm from Shreveport, but I was commuting. And I'll never forget this brother who was in the Nation of Islam. I went to junior high school with him, and Brother Marlon saw me. He said, man, buy and find a car. So I bought to find a car, and he said, yeah, man, Ms. Farrakhan said, yeah, they blew up the levees and whatnot and flooded Black people out. And I said, yeah, I've heard that. Minister Farrakhan say that. I say, but Brother Marlon, over 80% of the city is flooded, including rich white folks. And I say, I wish Minister Farrakhan would stop saying that. And he said, well, that's what the minister said. I say, Marlon, you're in the state of Louisiana. You're only 330 miles from New Orleans. I say, take a trip to go see it yourself. I say, I live there. So he saw he wasn't getting anywhere. And so he said, well, it don't matter. It don't matter. Like Minister Farrakhan says, there's only one solution to the Black man's problem in America. And I said, what's that? So he said, complete unequivocal separation from the white man. So I started laughing at him. And I said, Mark, why in the hell would you say such a stupid thing when your ass works for Dylan? You work for Dylan's department, though. I said, Minister Marvin worked for the goddamn casino. I said, do you know how stupid y'all saying this stupid ass shit? That don't even make any sense. I said, you get your check from the white man. So he snatched the damn final call out my hand.
Give me that paper back. You ain't doing right. And you know what's interesting about that, Craig, is that the Nation of Islam has been around for at least 75 years. So if they were trying to fully extricate, remove themselves and build and do, goddamn, you've had time to at least have something to show that you are really trying to separate and remove yourself from.
It's all game, Mr. Brother. It's all game. And they are the clear example of the drop squad. They are the clearest example because it's like, look, man, Minister Farrakhan lives in Hyde Park. And if you ain't never been to Chicago, this is a majority white community. Nice goddamn community. They don't even have a Nation of Islam community like the Shrine of Black Madonna used to have an actual community. They don't have a Nation of Islam community nowhere in the United States.
Makes you wonder. Okay? Makes you wonder.
So when we're doing this, we got to be very clear that a lot of rhetoric is being passed around, and it's like we got to get beyond the emotionalism and really start to analyze it. And I don't know if it was Sister Mary, but somebody wanted to know, how do we determine who and what is Black? It's real simple. The best indicator for performance is what has already been done. Let's look at Brother Tamani, I want you to send everybody in here that video from the brother I sent the other day on the 3 R's, resume, references, and receipts.
I got it.
When you say you can do something or you say you are what you are, you got to provide a resume. Then you got to have people who can reference what you say, and then you got to provide receipts, right? But your actions, Sister Mary, your actions will determine that. So if you can connect words with actions, then that's going to tell you what these entities are really all about. But the term Black has never been clearly defined by the advocates and the activists who started promoting the term. And so we have to bring some clarity to that particular term. And look, I do business with some homosexuals, and I tell them straight up, I ain't got no problem putting you in check because I know you don't understand. The mere advocacy, if you are advocating for homosexuality, you're advocating against your own existence. And I remember telling a homosexual advocate that once, and they looked at me with befuddlement, and they say, "What do you mean?" I said, "Did you get here by way of two males having sex?" And she said, "No." I said, "Did you get here by two males having sex?" And she said, "No." So I said, "What are we talking about?" What? You're advocating against your own existence because you're not understanding what you desire or like in your lower nature from sexual behavior. You have every right to do that. But now to promote that as if this is something that's a part of nature, it's not. Because if it was a part of nature, you would be able to extend your lifeline. And it's that simple. I ain't gotta cuss you out. I ain't gotta hit you upside the head. I ain't gotta do none of that. But this is where this whole thing is at. So with that, that's my conclusion. Any questions for today? I did good today, brother.
So my quick question is, where would you place the Minister Louis Farrakhan as it relates to the 6 factions?
Melanated bourgeoisie Negro.
Yeah, that's what I thought you would go. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Sister Jatik. Thank you, Sister Fabu. Yeah, but I would say bourgeoisie Negro. Yeah.
Okay. Solid.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you were a hybrid Black person, by now you would have had, like you said, a Nation of Islam community.
Something.
Okay. And look, these cats from the Nation of Islam tried to debate me one day on the phone, man. I mean, on Facebook, man. They blocked me from their goddamn page. Man. Look, I was just sitting with nothing but facts. I say, look, man, I've been to Baltimore. Listen to me, man. Baltimore, Maryland. Goddamn, 70-80% Negro. They have a thing, a market in Baltimore called the Lexington Market. Right? It's like real old, back in the early 1800s, something like that, 1700s. And they sell all kind of food. It's gone, Jatik, it's gone. Wow. Jatik said it's gone now. Damn. But anyway, Brother Tamani, all these vendors would sell different food items and stuff like that. They tore it down. God damn. Yeah, because it's pretty close to that.
Muted.
That was somebody calling. My bad. But anyway, you got about 90+% of the customers coming through there look like us, melanated, right? There was only one. This is back in 2003. There was only one melanated vendor, Black Negro vendor in the whole damn market, right? And so I saw some of the Amish, the so-called Amish Jews.
Yeah.
Guess what they were selling inside of the goddamn Lexington Market, brother?
Hair grease.
Bean pie.
The Amish were selling bean pies?
Bean pie.
They didn't have enough sense to say, you can't sell our stuff. Jesus Christ.
Now guess where the Nation of Islam was at?
Wow.
They were outside the goddamn market selling bean pie because they didn't want to pay for a booth rental.
In their own space. Lord have mercy.
It's sad, brother. It's sad.
They should have given the NOI discount. That probably would have helped. Look, if you're a member of the Nation, we're going to give you 50% off this damn booth fee.
It's sad, brother. And I referenced that because the Amish ain't nobody went and gave them no damn land. They went and bought some damn land, okay? They make furniture. They make bean pies.
Self-sufficient.
They farm the damn land.
Self-sufficient.
And then they go to the goddamn market with their little house on the prairie uniforms on, you know, they old maid uniforms and they long beards and hats and shit, and they go sell their goods, and they make money off Negro.
Yeah, and I've started to do some research on a few different things, but it's funny that they had an Amish mob that will go out and do dirt. So I'm like, man, Bible in hand, I shall smite thee. And they did. Crazy, man.
Every cultural group is gonna have an underworld.
Hell yeah. Excuse my French.
You gotta have some hitters.
Yeah, dig it. Okay, so I'm sorry. Anyone else have a question? Because I got another. There you go, Fundi. Every day, all day.
A quick one. Where is there like a book where all these definitions are found?
You looking at it? I'm the book.
Oh,
intellectual property creator for these 6 factions.
Okay. What's your book?
But now, in terms of capitalism, Black is a creation. It's just my analysis, research, study. But melanin, things like that, you can study and whatnot. Capitalism, you can study. But the 6 factions, Black, those things I created just through my 35 years of being on the enlightened path and doing this work for the past, 25 years directly here in the city of Shreveport. And send me your contact information, Mary, and I'll talk to you offline, give you some direct things that you can go and research. And what I do, whenever I do empowerment workshops, I always tell people, don't believe a goddamn thing I say. Go research the shit. Because I'm going to send you to go research it, and then we can come back and we can have discussions on it. But yeah, that's why I say I got 50 PhDs in niggerology, niggermetrics, niggerosis, niggometry, crackatology, crackerosis. I studied it.
And I'll tell you this, Sister Mary. You ask a very valid question, and Brother Craig can tell you why he hasn't spent time writing books. But you guys haven't met. Well, everyone except Fundi Fabu. You guys haven't met Dr. Akua yet, but you will soon. She runs the Spiritual Healing and Wellbeing Department. She made a very good point a few months ago, in that we are making history here. What we're doing right now is history making, because we're going to elevate everything our people have tried to do to the next level, but we're not going to make those mistakes. One of the things that the Shrine, in my opinion, got wrong or didn't do a good enough job at is marketing what we were doing. There was a lot of note taking. There was a lot of things written down inside for members of the church, but it was never properly videotaped, marketed, and put out there for Black people to see. Perfect example. She just put in the chat the Maccabees. The Maccabees were the security force for the church. I literally tried to create a community outreach program to market the Maccabees to young brothers, to bring them into the church to become a member, using the Maccabees as the draw, but they wouldn't allow me to do that. So everything that Brother Craig is laying out, everything that Dr. Akua is going to lay out, everything that Brother Harlan is going to lay out, everything that Brother Carey and Brother Robert, Agriculture, are going to lay out, we're going to videotape this stuff because we know that we are making history. People are talking about post-traumatic slavery. Is a disorder or syndrome? Disorder, right?
Yeah, post-traumatic slavery.
Yeah, that's not new.
Yeah,
that's not. The Shrine was talking about that in the 80s. That's not new to us, but it's new to a lot of Black people because we never did a good job of documenting it and putting it out. So Brother Craig, I'm gonna ask him to tell you why he doesn't spend a lot of time writing books, but we have to understand what we're doing and what we have, so we can take advantage of. You guys don't know Sister Fabu, but trust me, when she starts to become more involved in what we're doing as relates to deprogramming and reprogramming our people, she's gonna lay it out there, and it's gonna be absolutely powerful because I know who this sister is. We got to do a better job of elevating, promoting, uplifting, and marketing those persons that the ancestors, God, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, have brought to us, because he can't do it on his own. He and I can't do it on our own. The 7 of us on this call, which is a shame, cannot do it on our own. We have to elevate everything that we're doing. And Brother Craig and I have joked about writing books and reading books. Hell, if that were the answer, we'd be free by now.
Exactly.
So it's not about the book writing, it's about, putting in the work and then showing people the results of that work. So we're going to start videotaping and documenting a lot of our stuff, Sister Mary, because this is history in the making, but also because we have to create a marketing platform, a marketing program. We got to market to our own people so that we can not only redirect a lot of that Black foot traffic that's creating millions of dollars in our own communities because all these businesses that they're going to, but for other reasons as well. Brother Craig, you want to tell her why you hadn't written the book yet?
Sister Mary, there have been a lot of people that have wanted me to write books and, you know, go on a speaker's circuit. But I've been so focused on doing the actual work because my premise is real simple. Theory is cool, but application and the physical reality, establishing the prototype, to me is more important. You see, so I'll write books after, you know, the theory. Now I do have on paper empowerment workshop material that I'll send to you. So that's why I say leave me your phone number, email address, and then I'll send you that information, and then we can discuss that conference call or whatever. But that's what I typically do, because everybody talks, you know, and Umar Johnson, Brother Polite. I mean, I'm so sick of this. I mean, and it's no actual tangible reality. And so I break down concepts like male versus man, female versus woman, and why you can't use these particular terms and how the confusion comes in when you use these terms. So when we look at Black versus Negro, you now start to understand that we got to be very clear when we use various terms, because to allow people to claim certain things and they're not at a mental development or expertise to be able to do what they say they can do. I mean, you know, you just keep on putting yourself behind the eight ball. Tamani and I talked on the show the other night briefly about Kanye West, and here he is, now his punk ass, and had another so-called mental breakdown. I mean, this dude is playing so many games, and I'm not even mad at his retarded ass. I get upset at the Negroes constantly making excuses for this Negro, talking about he's a genius and he should be president. All of this kind of I mean, and then I think he runs game because every damn time something is about to come out and he ain't delivered. Now all of a sudden I'm having a meltdown. Like that's your goddamn ass that. Yeah. You know, but they know our people are so gullible. And so now guess what term they'll say? Man, Craig, you shouldn't go at a Black man like that. First off, his punk ass ain't no man. He ain't no goddamn man. And he ain't Black. That's why we got to clear these terms up. Megan Thee Stallion, in one breath, she called herself a bitch. In the same video, she say she's a queen. She ain't a woman, and she ain't Black. So, but because you get money, status, and materialism, oh man, you hating on a Black man. You hating on a Black woman. No. We're just clearing up these terms. And it's not right now time to go major league, full throttle, national or international with these terms. We just do the work. And then the work is going to show who is and who is not Black. And then once the physical reality is in place, then we can blast their ass to kingdom come. I mean, because really, I'm sick of them. I'm sick and tired of them because they create a lot of, perpetuate a lot of ignorance. They create apathy, pessimism, and cynicism. And that's why we are at a standstill as a people in the 21st century. Anybody else? I think that's about it. About it.
Everybody good?
Well, I'm glad that you all, if you didn't look at the movie, check out the movie and, you know, just look at some of the notes that we talked about. All right? Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for being a part. I sincerely appreciate it. We do this not just to talk about movies and have a good time. We do this because we're trying to elevate the understanding of our people so that we can actively, intelligently, methodically, and strategically do. We got a lot of problems. We got a lot of issues. And if we don't have these kinds of conversations, then we're going to continue to make the same mistakes. We can use, just like a book club, we can use movies to educate our people as to what's what, so that again, we can actively move forward and do. So it's very, very, very important that you yourself individually not only be a part, but you invite other Black people to be a part. Because what we're doing, we are making history. The people that we have on board that are helping us do this thing are a part of us making history. And of course, we can't do it if there's only 6 of us involved. So we got to get as many Black people as possible involved with not just a movie review, which is probably the simplest thing a person can do, watch a movie, then come to a meeting about the movie. But everything else that we're working on, and we're working on a lot of stuff simultaneously. So with that, thank you guys for being a part. I appreciate it. Always remember 2 things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely always remember, like Funi Fabu, Sister Fabu said, nothing is more sacred. Not me, not you, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, we're not going to make it. Our kids aren't going to make it, and our families aren't going to make it. But if we take care of the Black group, everybody will be fine. So with that, thank you guys very much. God bless, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at the Ambassador meeting. Y'all take care. Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.